A student stepped out for a relaxing afternoon bike ride, expecting to be gone no more than an hour. But she never returned home. From the moment her disappearance was reported, it triggered one of the largest search efforts the city had ever witnessed. Drawing national attention almost immediately, detectives chased thousands of tips, interviewed hundreds of potential suspects, and followed every possible lead, but each tip turned into another dead end. The case seemed impossible to solve until an unexpected break uncovered a chilling truth. Ardith Wood was born on October 28, 1975, in St. John, Canada, before her family eventually moved to Ottawa when she was still young. For the purpose of this retelling, imagine this case unfolding in a major U.S. city. A tight-knit community, countless bike trails weaving through local parks, and a family deeply connected to their daughter. Ardith grew up as the oldest sibling, with two younger brothers who admired her. She excelled in Catholic school and later earned degrees in history and philosophy. Her passion for academics pushed her even further, and she began working toward a PhD, hoping to one day become a respected professor in her field. Her instructors consistently noted that talking to her felt more like speaking to a colleague than a student. Outside the classroom, Ardith lived an active, healthy lifestyle. She loved running, swimming, and cycling, and always pushed herself to stay physically fit. She dreamed of one day building a big family of her own. At 27 years old, she had completed her PhD work and returned home to spend a couple of weeks with the people she cherished most. During her visit, Ardith wanted to soak up every moment with her family. On the morning of August 6th, she woke up early, went for a run, then came home and prepared a strawberry dessert for her parents and brothers. Later, she and her mother planned to go out shopping, but the weather report predicted heavy rain that afternoon. Wanting to enjoy the clear skies while she could, Ardith decided to go for a quick bike ride first. She borrowed her brother's bike and told her mom she'd be gone about an hour and a half. When the rain arrived suddenly and hard, Ardith's mother assumed she'd taken shelter somewhere. But as the rain passed and daylight continued slipping away, Ardith didn't return. Her mother called her husband, who immediately left work, picked up the boys, and drove through the city's long network of park trails searching for her. It was the path Ardith had ridden since she was a kid. But Tay didn't know her exact route that day. With no signs of her and darkness approaching, panic took hold. More than 6 hours had passed. The family knew something was terribly wrong. When they called police, officers didn't immediately launch a full-scale search. Because Ardith was an adult, authorities initially treated her as someone who may have chosen to leave on her own. Her family refused to sit and wait. They rallied friends, neighbors, and anyone who could help. Within hours, dozens of volunteers searched late into the night, but the challenge was enormous. The city's bike trail system stretched for miles and miles, and no one knew where she had gone. By the next morning, police officially joined the search and set up a command post at a central location along several major trails. Officers, volunteers, and even military personnel flooded the area. Helicopters scanned from above, mounted units patrolled the woodlands, and Ardith's picture appeared on every local news station. The community's response was extraordinary, and the search became one of the largest in the city's history. But despite the overwhelming effort, there was still no trace of her. During this time, multiple women came forward with disturbing stories. Each one described being approached on bike trails by a man who acted strangely. He was athletic, friendly at first, but in more than one case, he suddenly grabbed them and tried to drag them into the woods. One woman managed to escape and gave police such a detailed description that they produced a composite sketch. Investigators didn't release it right away, worried it would confuse the flood of incoming tips. At the time, they had no evidence linking this man to Ardith's disappearance. Then a 16-year-old girl contacted police with a frightening account. She had been on the trails the day Ardith went missing and remembered passing her. Moments later, she heard a scream. When she looked back, she saw Ardith arguing with a man. She kept riding but felt uneasy, so she turned around to check. By the time she returned, Potworigone. She noticed a hat hanging from a branch and two abandoned bicycles deeper in the woods. Something felt very wrong, but unsure of what she had witnessed, she left. After seeing the composite sketch, she confirmed it resembled the man she'd seen. This new lead helped detectives narrow the search area. Soon Divas found a bicycle submerged in the river. The serial number confirmed it was Ardith. Brother S, bike the one she borrowed that day. Police shifted their efforts toward the riverbanks. That same day, they received a strange call. A man confessed that he had accidentally killed Ardith, claiming it wasn't intentional and that he had partially buried her by the water. Investigators traced the call to a nearby town, but the payphone yielded no evidence. Search dogs were deployed along the river, and within a day, they located a body near the water's edge under a pile of branches. Decomposition was severe, and visual identification was impossible. But the medical examiner soon confirmed it was Ardith. The autopsy revealed she had drowned. Her clothing had been removed and never recovered. The scene strongly suggested sexual assault, though it couldn't be confirmed. Her killer had hidden her body and vanished without leaving any identifiable trace. With the composite sketch now released, police received hundreds of new leads, but none pointed to the right man. Weeks passed, then months. Witnesses reported the same suspect being seen in the park at least 19 times leading up to Ardith's disappearance, and one woman even spotted him the day after her death. They also learned the suspect had a distinctive eagle tattoo on his shoulder. That detail was kept confidential at first, but when the case began to stall, police released it, triggering another wave of tips. Still, none led to an arrest. Among the thousands of calls, two stood out. Both named the same man, someone who lived near the town where the confession call had originated. He had a criminal history and a bird tattoo on his shoulder. Police questioned him twice. His behavior was unsettling, but his polygraph came back clean, leaving detectives with no grounds to hold him. The case eventually went cold for nearly 3 years. Then in May 2006, police in another city arrested a man for attempting to assault a woman as she walked home. He had followed her, asked for help with directions, then grabbed her and pulled her into the bushes. Her screams alerted neighbors, and the attacker fled, dropping his cell phone. Police traced it and arrested 25-year-old Christopher Myers. One detective thought he resembled the sketch from Ardith's case and forwarded the information to investigators. When detectives dug into his background, they realized he had already been named as a suspect during the early days of the search, but nothing had linked him to the crime. At the time, his landlady had accidentally given him an alibi. When investigators re-interviewed her, she corrected her statement she'd only seen Christopher in the morning, leaving him plenty of time to bike to the trails, attack Ardith, and still make it to work. Detectives tested the route themselves and confirmed it was possible. They questioned Christopher again. His story shifted constantly. First, he denied everything. Then he claimed he and Ardith had talked by the river, walked into the woods together, and that she somehow fell into the water. It was a bizarre fabrication. And then he backtracked again. During background checks, detectives learned Christopher had suffered a deeply traumatic childhood marked by abuse, severe behavioral issues, and mental instability that carried into adulthood. Former partners described him as unpredictable and violent, and one woman revealed he often drew temporary tattoos on his body, including an eagle tattoo on his shoulder. This was the crucial detail investigators needed. Still, they needed more. Christopher was questioned repeatedly, failing a polygraph and changing his story each time. Eventually, detectives connected him to a series of unsolved sexual assaults that had been occurring around the same time. When the victims were shown his photos, several identified him immediately. Under pressure, Christopher confessed to 5 assaults. Combined with the shifting stories, the corrected alibi, the tattoo, and the eyewitness accounts, investigators finally had enough to charge him with Ardith's murder. In 2008, he accepted a plea deal, admitting he had dragged Ardith into the woods intending to assault her and then drowned her in the river. He received a life sentence with a chance of parole after 10 years. But both in 2015 and again in 2020, his parole was denied. Experts warn he remains highly likely to reoffend, making it unlikely he will ever be released. Ardith's case left a deep scar on the community. Women became fearful of walking alone on trails, and residents began organizing group rides and volunteer patrols to ensure no one else would fall victim to similar violence. Detectives believe Christopher may have committed many more assaults that were never linked to him because the victims never saw his face.